Here, let me show you.
Who's gonna be president? Who should be president next?
Who should be president? Well, yay, of course. Kanye.
You had dinner with Trump.
I did.
And Kanye.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
It was surreal because those are my two heroes. Those are my two number one heroes of all time. I've always been a Kanye West fan.
You like the music first?
Yes. The music, the fashion, everything.
Really?
Yes.
Do you wear those weird one-piece shoes?
I do.
You actually do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So what is Tucker Carlson doing here? He's normalizing Nick Fuentes is what he's doing. He's normalizing Nick Fuentes. He's getting people accustomed to a Nick Fuentes. Now, if you guys don't know who Nick Fuentes is one of the few people that I am willing to use the term Nazi to describe. Nick Fuentes believes that America should be a white-only nation. Nick Fuentes believes that we should be able to kill gay people, that the government should basically make it illegal to be gay or be illegal to be trans. He believes in the eugenic tenets of the Nazi philosophy of post-Weimar Germany. He believes in women losing the right to vote. I'm willing to use the term Nazi for Nick Fuentes because he very candidly earns the title. Now, Tucker Carlson, once upon a time, was the most celebrated and watched personality on news television. And then he got fired from Fox News. So watching him on his new show, normalizing Nick Fuentes to his new audience of post-Fox Newsites, is concerning to me. And he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Like in public?
Yes. You don't think that's cool?
No, I do. I don't know what I think.
I'll get you some.
I've worn the same clothes since high school. Don't ask me about clothes. I'm not good at that at all. That's hilarious. So you've always been a fan.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
huge fan.
You described your love for Trump, like sincere childhood love for Trump. So what was it like to find yourself at dinner with them?
It was funny because it was literally Thanksgiving dinner. It was 3 days before Thanksgiving. So not only was it dinner, but I'm having Thanksgiving dinner with Ye and Trump at the same table. And these are like my heroes. And the way that it went was sort of interesting. Ye is sort of shy. He deeply admires Trump.
Yeah, okay. So Ye also, Kanye West, also is a Nazi. Now, for Kanye, it's not that he necessarily has all of the tenets that a Nazi would have. That's not really the reason that I give him that label. I give him that label because he is a person who has publicly celebrated Hitler, has publicly celebrated he's literally called himself a Nazi. He's publicly tried to sell merchandise with a swastika on it. He publicly loves Hitler. Even if he in his heart of hearts does not believe in everything of post-Weimar Germany, standard Nazi eugenic shit, even if he personally does not believe in all those tenets, he is willing to be so on board with a regime like that. And he was very public on his Twitter about that. He's had several public crash outs about it. He earns the same title, just in a different way. And I find that very, very frustrating. I find that incredibly frustrating. But this is just to show you that these two are doing a whole thing about, doing an interview with people, being buddy-buddy, normalizing one to the other. Nick gets to normalize Tucker's more, normie conservative viewers to his more radical ideas, and Tucker gets to normalize the idea of Nick Fuentes to his more normie audience. And then we have...
And by the way, everybody agrees with this. 98% of conservatives and patriotic Americans agree with all this. And they saw that clip and they agreed with every word. They love Tucker Carlson. And they love Tucker Carlson because, say what you want about him, and I've had my criticisms, he is patriotic, he tells the truth, he speaks common sense, he's not afraid of anybody. He is a true American. He's not about the bullshit. People love him, and no one is going to cancel Tucker Carlson because Mark Levin said so. So people saw that statement and they said, you know what? It's about time. We're not getting rid of Tucker Carlson. We're not getting rid of Christ. We're not going to put America second. We're not actually obligated to support Israel. We can say what we want about them, and we don't need to like Nick Fuentes, but he should have the same First Amendment rights, and people should be able to talk to him if they disagree. 98% of people agreed with every word of that and said it's about time. Specifically, it's about time that somebody stood up to the bullies, because we've had enough. Everybody knows this is how it works. Everybody knows that if you have anything dissenting, anything critical to say about Israel, you will get these psychotic berserkers. That's their strategy. Laura Loomer, Josh Hammer, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, they will be on your case, bullying you, trying to intimidate you, working behind the scenes to get you fired.
Hey, so while me and Nick would definitely agree that Israel is a nation that is engaging in some very shitty behavior, the difference between the two of us is that when Nick Fuentes talks about Israel on his show, the problem that he has with it is that the state engaging in the genocide is Jewish. His problem is that they are Jewish because, again, this person is one of the few people who I am willing to ascribe the label of card-carrying Nazi to, because he literally believes in anti-Semitism. His criticisms of Israel do not begin and end with the things they are doing to other people that are problematic. They begin and end with the fact that they are Jewish. I don't give a shit what the religious makeup of Israel is personally. I don't care what the racial makeup of Israel is personally, so long as they're not engaging in, creating an ethno-state, which they objectively have. No, instead, what I care about is what material reality is being affected by their country, what people are being hurt by their administration. Much like I don't have to give a shit about the racial makeup of America to be critical of the ways that America imperialistically has fucked up other nations. When Nick Fuentes does it, it's the anti-Semitism that he's going for. We're not on the same side, even if we are both critical of Israel, because we are critical of it for two very different, fundamentally, diametrically opposed reasons. But what is he talking about? He got canceled for going on Tucker Carlson? Well, yeah, actually, kinda.
Hey, folks, I want to do something different on today's show. We're going to cover one topic in depth. That topic is, I think, the most important thing happening in the country. It was a hot topic last week, but I wanted to take some time to really gather my thoughts and speak on it in coherent fashion, holistic fashion. That topic is the fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, America's foreign policy, and America's Constitution. They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated. And
I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever actually heard Nick Fuentes be positive of Stalin. That maybe it's just because I don't watch enough Nick Fuentes, because I don't like my brain being poisoned. But have heard him be very, very, waxing lyrical about Hitler. Have not heard him waxing lyrical about Joseph Stalin.
And normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual...
Wait, hold on. Ben Shapiro actually recognizing that the purpose of Tucker Carlson bringing Nick Fuentes on his show is to normalize the ideals of Fuentes and the Groypers to his normie audience? Ben Shapiro unironically understanding the plot? Holy shit! We are in a very strange world. We are in an incredibly weird version of reality now. I don't know how to feel about that.
Coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation. Now, before we explain what's been happening, let's make one thing clear. This is not about free speech or cancellation. It was never about free speech or cancellation. Free speech has a definition: the right to speak free of governmental coercion. I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition: the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation, and in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable.
So that's the thing. Ben Shapiro and I do not agree on that. I believe that when you have a platform that allows for intolerant voices, you inadvertently lose the voices of tolerance because they are always, by definition, softer voices. You push out minority groups because their existence on a platform ceases being able to be neutral, because their existence on the platform becomes one where they necessarily have to defend their existence. When 1,000 anti-trans posts make their way onto a platform and are uncontested by the platform, naturally, 1,000 trans voices now have to contextualize and defend their existence. This is the paradox of tolerance. If you tolerate intolerant behavior, the only behavior that will be left is the intolerant behavior, because by its nature, it pushes out everyone else. That is what it always has done. It is part and parcel how it functions.
It is not cancellation to draw moral lines between viewpoints. In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes. It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson for rhetorically fluffing Nick Fuentes and other anti-American crackpots. It's not cancellation if you urge others to stop promoting those who rhetorically fluff Nazi apologists. Those are all elements of free speech. And anyone who says differently is lying to you, and lying for the most cynical reasons, to misdirect from their own defense of those Nazi apologists and their promoters.
You know, I want to be honest. I recognize that Ben Shapiro is a dishonest interlocutor. I really do. But I feel like on this point, we have enough agreement that a two-way dialogue would actually be possible. Now, I will say this. Ben Shapiro is far more rhetorically gifted than I am, and he's far more studied on the subjects he chooses to defend. I say that because, well, it's true. He reads a lot about the stuff that he wants to defend. Now, whether he comes out on the right side technically is up for debate. I would argue he usually doesn't. But typically when somebody is knee-deep in 10 books about a subject, they are going to be better poised to rhetorically disadvantage you. There's nothing wrong with recognizing that. It's just part of understanding how rhetoric works. That said, I do think there would actually be room for a dialogue on this, because we have a obvious point of disagreement. I believe deplatforming is, in fact, a legitimate method to prevent the spread of caustic ideas. I even believe that when a platform is large enough, or even when it's small enough, there is an onus on the platform to curtail problematic members of its community. Let me ask you this. What is the appropriate thing for Twitch, the platform, to do when a content creator on its platform, or even a viewer on its platform, sexually harasses one of its streamers? I would argue deplatforming the person, banning them from the platform, is a good thing. And yeah, I'm talking about the Emiru situation. I would argue that that is something that you should advocate for, because having a cleaner, more protected platform is better. Having a platform that has enforcement of its TOS is better than having a platform that lacks those things, and as a result has some of the worst offenders on the platform quite literally run amok.
The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation then decided to robustly defend that performance. Those who criticize both Tucker and Heritage aren't canceling. They are quite properly drawing a moral line. So, for those who don't understand what's going on, let's begin with Nick Fuentes. Now, as I mentioned, last week, Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes. Fuentes is a 27-year-old man who's dubbed himself the leader of a movement called the Groypers. He has a large audience of alienated young white men in particular, and he's earned increased media attention over the course of the past few years, especially over the last year. Now, from Tucker Carlson's interview, you might have gathered that Fuentes has some borderline views on race, a peculiar obsession with what he calls organized Jewry, and a rather sad relationship with the female sex. But probably you came away thinking that, for the most part, Fuentes lives on the radical edge of normality. You think that if you watch the interview, because Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience. As we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says that his followers should kill, rape, and die in his name.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
So, man, it feels really weird. It feels really weird watching Ben Shapiro be correct. Scarily correct. This is an awkward timeline to be in. You find yourself with strange bedfellows sometimes, I guess.
Nick Fuentes says that women are whores who shouldn't be in politics.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. It's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say, I like it, you have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions. I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores. I'm attacking sluts. Stupid, dirty bitches.
Yeah, I'm not attacking
Nick Fuentes
women.
says that Jim Crow was actually better for black people.
I'm not attacking women. I'm just attacking women. Like, I'm not attacking women. I'm giving women a derogatory label so that I can normalize my attacks on women. That's what he's doing. Like, it's super easy to see. And then...
Stupid, dirty bitches.
Nick Fuentes says that Jim Crow was actually better for black people.
It was better for them too, number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? You know, enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up, drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's water, it's the same. You know, and, you know, even if it was bad, who cares?
All right, so the Mott and Bailey, he does the Mott and Bailey. Here's my position that I don't actually agree with. The water was the same, even though oftentimes it was not. You have a water fountain that is not as well maintained, and that is the water fountain designated as for the blacks. And then you have him do the Bailey. Well, that's not actually my opinion. My opinion is, who cares? My opinion is, even if it was different, who cares? Technically, that's an easier to defend position because it's not a position based in facts. It's an easier to defend position because I can't assail the position with facts. Because it's not a position based on facts. It's not based on data. It's not based on evidence. It's based on vibes. And the vibes are racist. Like, actually, the vibes are racist.
Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. Better in general.
Nick Fuentes says that white people are justified in being racist.
Reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
Nick Fuentes is a Hitler admirer and a Holocaust denier.
Buddy, it's Führer Friday. It is Hitler Friday. Shut up. It is Heil Hitler Friday. Heil Hitler, all my Nazis. Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second.
Again, so this is why he's one of the few people that I'm willing to give the label of Nazi to. I'm just willing to say, yeah, the dude's a Nazi. Because the dude is doing everything in his power to earn the label and maintain the label on himself as a legitimate mark against who he is. He's okay with that. He's not only earned it, but he revels in it. It's what he loves. He loves Hitler. I think anybody who loves Hitler is a Nazi. And I think that's a perfectly valid thing to call someone who loves Hitler. Because Hitler's love Nazi. Hitler loves Nazis. Hitler does love Nazis, but Nazis love Hitler. That's what they do. That's what they do. Didn't Fuentes have some rather pedophile takes on what age of girlfriend he wanted? Yeah, he has some weird takes on age of consent.
Takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies. And you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right?
Hey, look, it's the cookie question. It's the classic cookie question from Nick Fuentes that he uses to deny the Holocaust.
Cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make $6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million, maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground.
Nick Fuentes believes that the Jews start all the wars, that perfidious Jews in positions of power ought to be killed, and says the Jews are filth who have to be removed from the country.
And once again, remember who is responsible for it all: the Jews. They are responsible for every war in the world. It's not even debatable at this point. This has nothing to do with oil. This has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with liberal internationalism. We are at war with Iran because they pose a threat to Israel's hegemony. That's why we're bombing their nukes, to pave the way for regime change so Israel can dominate the region, because that makes them the most powerful they can be.
Again, like I said before, Nick Fuentes and I disagree on why Israel's a problem. I do not like that it is definitionally an ethno-state. I do not like that it definitionally is engaging in a genocide. I do not like these things. I think these are bad things. These would be bad things if America was doing it. These would be bad things if anybody was doing it. Nick Fuentes, on the other hand, doesn't actually have moral problems with these things. He has the problem that these things are being done by Jews. Because Jews should not be allowed to do these things. This is the territory of white people. This is the territory of white nations. Domination, after all, in the world of Nick Fuentes, is the purview of American Christian nationalists. Soccer says Fuentes is jealous that a Jewish state is the one being allowed to do the genocide. Yeah, his problem isn't that it's happening. His problem is that America should be the one doing it. That is his issue. Full on. His issue is that America is not the one engaging in the behavior. He would celebrate this behavior if America were doing it.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country,
they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. And
yeah, just kill all the Jews. That's what he wants to do. He just wants to kill all the Jews. Doesn't that make him, I don't know, I feel like there's a word we would use to describe somebody like that, and it's a pretty accurate word we would use to describe somebody who wants to do that. Once again, I give the label of Nazi for a reason. But we don't have to keep listening to Ben Shapiro anti-glazing Nick Fuentes. The crux of this is that Nick Fuentes went on Tucker Carlson. His time on Tucker Carlson was Tucker Carlson normalizing him to his audience. Tucker Carlson proved that, like when he was on Fox News, he is an irresponsible orator and user of his platform. And now here we are, where a generation of younger conservatives are going to be exposed to more extremist behavior, and it is going to be Tucker Carlson's fault for leading those horses to that water. And in this, Ben Shapiro and I agree. Now, it's really weird that Ben Shapiro and I agree on this when several of the things that Nick Fuentes is saying are just slightly harder versions of the positions that Matt Walsh has. So it's really weird to hear him, come down on these things when it's somebody else saying these things. Again, it's the same type of hypocrisy where Nick Fuentes' problem with the travesties that Israel is engaging in is not the fact that they are travesties, but instead the fact that they are being done by a race of people that he does not like. Likewise, when the behavior that Nick Fuentes is doing is the exact same behavior that Ben Shapiro's friend and co-conspirator and, employee, Matt Walsh, engages in on a daily basis, that's different because Matt Walsh is doing it. And Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro are friendly. So it's okay for Matt Walsh to engage in the same kind of very, very problematic, very dangerous behavior that normalizes awful positions to a very, very gullible audience because, when you are a content creator, people trust the words you say. So when you use your position, quite frankly, for evil, a position of influence, a position of power, a position of respect for many people. When you use that for ill and harm, that's okay when Matt Walsh is doing it. He can rationalize that it's not ill or harm because his friend is doing it. And his friend is using softer versions of many of the same talking points. Anyway, I find this shit abhorrent and disgusting. And I think it's hilarious watching the infighting happening. Watching the splintering of the conservative side of the country happen, because, quite frankly, they are realizing that some of them are a little more extreme and drank a little more of the Kool-Aid than others are comfortable with. It's honestly a little funny. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagittarius, I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Sereth, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.